and vote in favour of what he promised. So Conservatives brought forward a good faith motion just to make sure that Liberals meant what they said, to get them all in the House of Commons to vote on whether they want a pipeline to the Pacific and whether they're prepared to open up our waters to shipping energy overseas. Now, the Liberals went dead quiet. I expected them to enthusiastically applaud this gesture of goodwill. They went dead quiet over the weekend, telling reporters on background they had no idea how they were going to vote on their own MOU proposal for a pipeline and an adjustment to the oil tanker moratorium. I even used wording right out of the Prime Minister's MOU to make it easy for him. But it still wasn't easy enough. As we know with Liberals, they often start by making promises, and then they go to making excuses. So they've now been generating a whole lot of excuses about why they have to vote against. We know the Liberals have made these excuses. And so, Madam Speaker, I'm going to help brush away those excuses for them. We're going to amend our own motion in order to include the things that Liberals claim we left out. So we are going to amend the motion in favor so that it will support green lighting, carbon capture and storage, green lighting Indigenous ownership in the project, and engaging with British Columbia.
And I think, Madam Speaker, while speaking about this Conservative motion, I can do a service to Canadians by explaining the tactics this motion attempts to use and what these tactics reveal. I also think, Madam Speaker, while speaking about this Conservative motion, I can do a service to Conservatives by explaining how at this point they are most certainly fooling themselves. So let's start here. If your goal is to get a pipeline built, there is no train of logic that leads you to either the original or amended motion before us today. The Conservatives should know very well the risks of plowing ahead thoughtlessly when it comes to pipelines. In 2016, the Federal Court of Appeal deemed the Phase 4 consultations undertaken by the Harper government on the Northern Gateway pipeline, a pipeline project I worked on, insufficient. They said, and I quote, "Canada fell short of the mark." No, in Canada, to get things built, you need to work with Indigenous communities, you need to show respect to Indigenous communities, you need to take the duty to consult seriously, and while I am glad for the Conservative amendment, merely appending while respecting the duty to consult Indigenous peoples to a motion with a predetermined outcome falls laughably short of the mark. In Canada, to get things built, to de-risk activity, you need to work with all affected communities. Ignoring the role of British Columbians in this conversation does not make a project more likely to succeed. Ignoring environmental concerns does not make a project more likely to succeed. It creates conditions that would concern any investor. And by the way, Pathways requires a price on carbon, so the amendment does not make a coherent policy position. Smart money knows you don't ram projects through. A yes vote on this motion would antagonize stakeholders and undermine the important conversations to be had between Canada, Alberta, British Columbia, and Indigenous peoples. It makes it harder to get to accord. A yes vote makes a pipeline less likely.